Part B, Introduction. I highly suggest checking out this link on bank switching. I might do a full video on this forum post in the future. I highly recommend this one again because it was well written and it it actually explains a lot, and it's well done by the person that you'll see I mentioned later in the video. Alright. Um that's all I'm going to currently mention on the bank switching. So please understand it's needed to fit more things in your game. Alright, so part B is Adventure Module Enabling User Bytes and Paths. So paths were in the older versions of NESmaker, as well as the maze tutorial. You've likely previously viewed that tutorial. They were removed from other modules due to the amount of space they can take up in your game, as well as causing issues in scrolling modules. They are not officially recommended to be used in your games, even though it's easy to disable them. I don't see why not include them as a default in this module. I'm creating the module in these videos. So if you don't use paths, all you have to do is just replace the script with a blank script. Paths simply can be revived by copying do get path info ASM from your project folder subroutines folder. So here's your NESmaker folder. Go to routines, base 4.5 game, go to subroutines, down in subroutines, you'll see do get path info. So you're going to copy this file, then you're going to go back to your project folder, subroutines, and paste it in here. I have pasted it already in here. If you look at that, it adds all this to the game. It's 433 lines of code. So I'm going to show you a before and after. Before we enable it, let's test it. And close our project. In NESmaker and emulator folder, we're going to go into the space checker. I'm going to use the space checker. Go to game. This is what we currently have. I'm going to personally make a copy of the game file just to show. If you pause the video, you could have seen, the percentages that were left. So we're going to go before. And this will be the after we update it. So all we're simply going to do is go to script settings, virtually at the bottom. So it's like almost right there. Handle path data. Game in that folder, and subroutines in the project folder. You get path info. Test your project. Close your project. Now we're going to check the space again in the screen space checker tool. You lost 3%. In 1F, you lost 3%. I believe that's actually all you might have lost. You might have lost some up here, though, because one of these is where it stores the actual tiles. So let's check that out. I'll open up another instance of it. Check the before real quick. So right here's the before and the after. Alright, so that cost isn't going to be paid yet, boy. But currently, I took 3% out of the 1F there. The bank for 1F, which is highly used bank. So be careful with that. So there's the information on that. I'm going to show you how to use the paths. I'm sure you've already seen videos on it. The new 8-bit heroes have included in the maze tutorial assets these paths. Create your own paths, but you can use these temporarily. They encourage you to use these and then make your own based on these or something, like an idea based on these. I also included this from the forums as path examples someone made. Do you see the numbers correspond with the paths? And then I also am including this HUD is an example because the red, the green, and the blue tiles there in the bottom right, you could replace that red dot that must have been accidentally put there with something by the Z, but it's not necessary currently if you're not using periods anyway. It's just an example of a HUD that has the red, the green, and the blue in the right hand corner. That HUD, when you use that, that will help paint on the screen as Drexiger shows in his tutorial. Any screen that's got a HUD on it, you use 6 for black, 7 for red, 8 for green, and 9 for blue. Red, green, blue. That would be from this palette, and then you could change the palette with Q, W. So now it's this second palette. E, R. So it's Q, W, E, R, um, your path, you're going to have to go to screen info, path group. You got to make a path group. Under all graphics, path info. I don't have a path yet, so I'm going to show you how to load your path. We'll take that path that I just put on the desktop. So there, I've imported his paths. I'm going to save them to my project. Path tile 0. Save that. Now when I go back under path info, there's the paths. Um, this one over here, this one right here looks really nice. So maybe yeah, you know what, I'll mess with the HUD. Just make this brown for now. Or darker green maybe. I'm sorry, the lighter green. Make it one that matches that one. There we go. Just for now, we're going to do that. And then we're going to just make this path, walkable, etc. Save it as path 1. We'll just write it down as path 1. Alright, so we go into the overworld. That would be the arcade. This would be that water. As you see, it's not that color. We can make it that color. And I can even put a bridge over it, separating it. So when we make it that color, you just do, so we're doing QWER, it would be R. So, oops. Maybe make it a little lighter, just for now. Yeah, how does that look? But as you see, the collision still 0. So if you want to make it so the player can't walk in there, you're gonna have to actually make it solid. And test that project. That's just an example of how to use the paths. I'm sure if there's like videos he shows on how to do it. So yes, you had to save that. Now that path group that we saved, path 1 right there, that is actually going to take up a little bit of space somewhere. So if I when check the screen checker, it might not actually register quite yet. But soon after you do a couple of them, it might register a teeny bit. So be careful of making like tons of like monsters, paths. I believe earlier in here I mentioned something about this is like path info or something like that. I don't know. I don't see it off. Oh, yeah, see it, but somewhere around here, the path information I think is saved. Just be careful. Um, let's see where we are. My apologies. There we are. So, if you haven't done the tutorial yet for the maze, please visit the link, download the assets, download the watch the tutorial video or download it, watch it, um, learn how to use the paths if you can. I'm including these as an example of for teaching purposes to show you, and I'm just doing like kind of like an abridged version of how to do it. So yeah, um, that's how paths are laid out. 1, 2, 3, 4. As Drexigar was saying his tutorial. 6 for black, 7 is R, 8 is G, 9 is blue. The color that it shows, as we were showing, is based on your palette selected. Don't forget to change the palette, that's with QWER. Alright, got a little excited, but because we're about to move on, that's why I'm getting pretty excited here. Alright, something I've been done like 2 or 3 times so far, but it's very important to do it. That's unlocking the user screen bytes in tiles 14 and 15 subtiles. And this is going to be an abridged version of that tutorial. For more information on how to use those, please refer to the links below. This link right here will take you to my video that shows you how to enable the subtiles associated with tile 14 and 15. You can make up to 16 new tiles for your game, including 14 and 15, or aside from the 14 and 15, that's 14 new tiles you can make for your game. That's in another video altogether. So for this one, we're going to follow this link right here, unlocking user screen and user screen bytes. Okay, if you follow this link, it'll take you here. Explains why user screen bytes are useful. It shows you how it can give you up to 8 new screen type variables that you can use on your screens. All you need to do is follow a couple of steps. Add those variables, or you can add user screen byte 0 and your 0 page RAM. Go all the way to the bottom, add. I'm going to add user, capital S, screen bytes, or 0, and it has 8 bytes. 0 plus 1 through through plus 7. So it's going to be like 0, which is already there, I'm just showing you what it's going to look like. It's going to be like userScreenByte 0, then userScreenByte 0 plus 1, userScreenByte 0 plus 0 plus 2, 0 plus 3, etc. through 7 to the plus 7. So that fixes all this for the variables. All you do is use your ScreenByte 0 in the 0-page RAM. Very bottom. Give it 8 bytes. These notes, I just wrote those in there just to show you. Oops, not quite there yet. Alright, step 2, you have to open up, do load screen data, ASM. That's right there in subroutines. I'm going to make a copy of that. Put that in our subroutines folder. Call it do load screen data adventure EX. That's what I'm going to call mine. Alright, once again, just like in the other video, if you go to your load subroutines, you'll see load all subroutines. Go to edit, and you'll see right there on line 23, do load screen data. There's the include for it. So what I would do is just like before, put do load screen data there, custom for it, comment out the old one, make an include for it. So I'm going to make one that says do load screen data. This one is do load screen. Or it could be just load screen data. There we go, load screen data. That's what I'm going to make my... So we're going to make a script define for that. That's again in the subroutines. Add that there. Custom do load screen data. That's what I'm going to do. That define, just paste that in there. And okay. That script, remember where we put that script? Let's see how easily we're doing this now. Do load screen data. Adventure EX. Alright. Now that should work. Alright, that do load screen data. Now we're going to that it tested and it worked. I forgot to see how much space, but it shouldn't have really. It's just attaching it to another spot essentially. But you notice I did edit that load all subroutines. That's because the load all subroutines isn't in the base folder. We put it before in the Adventure EX folder. So that load all subroutines is right there. So it doesn't mess with Never did. Never messed with this one. That was already defined earlier too, so there we go. See how that all works together like that and saves us grief and editing files and subroutines. So now we're gonna do what he says. Back up your original so we don't have to. We're not editing the original. If we have to, we could just literally copy paste what we just did back to it. It says go to line 167 and you should see something like this. Let's go there. All right. Now, if you were following the bank boomerang switching and stuff like that, they did mention somewhere in the other thing that um, it might cause errors if you switch the bank. I think either before or after. I can't remember what, if, when, and where. Something about switching the bank that has to do with this user screen byte thing. So watch out for that. This should work though, as we didn't really change anything except for earlier with the bank switching. So let's see how this goes. After this part, screen flags 01, STA screen flags 01, so storing into the accumulator screen flags 01. He wants you to add this code block. So you're going to add this code block. I'm going to put an extra, I always try to put an extra line, just the buffer. User screen byte 0. So it's user screen byte 0. Remember how we were setting it up in the 0-page RAM? So I'm changing all these. And we're just going to go down the line. +1, +2, +3, etc. Look at that, +7's the last one. Alright. Then, now all your user screen bytes are enabled. We'll just save that. But we didn't do that 14 and 15 subtypes. So we had one variable called special tile type. So that variable will be added. User variables. Special tile type. I just copy pasted it from the tutorial. There we go. After that's 0 plus 7, we would add this block. So then right here, I like to put a buffer again. So here's a buffer. There's that block. I'm saving again, just because I'm try to be very prudent. Alright, and then that just explains how these work. I explained that in the video about all this. So let's just check this in action and make sure everything works properly. Game compiles. Now earlier I believe we were at 19 after we put the paths down there. Now that we're at the end of this tutorial, Yeah, now that we're at almost the end of this tutorial, I'm just going to check again. Let's get that running tally of what the space left is. 18%, 66.93. Doesn't look like anything else changed. Maybe PRG10. Um, and maybe 15 or 18 or something changed in 1B, but I doubt it. So basically, it just went down by 1%. 4% overall by including the paths. The paths themselves took up more than the user screen bytes enabling did, with the 14 and 15 subtiles enabled. So, yeah, um, you're that's the trade-off basically. Is you're gonna lose like 3 or 4%. Oh yeah, apologies. I'm really not trying to take too long on these sections. I know that they've been covered in the past, so I'm just trying to do these to show you exactly how it works in the adventure module, and specifically the one I'm creating. Um, I'm going to try to keep this as vanilla as possible for everyone's general use. As you see, I'm trying to be as clean as possible as well by making uh, the defines, and with those defines, we can also use those to do subroutines and stuff like that. But currently, they're just being used to define to point things in other locations. Special thanks to Chronicler of Legends. Um, has some great tutorials. Honestly, the only shame is that there aren't really more of them. There's there's some, but you know, he makes some really good tutorials. You may notice that the bank switching tutorial I mentioned at the beginning of this video, its author is Chronicler of Legends. It's a really good tutorial. Then this tutorial we just followed was all Chronicler of Legends work right there. I used that little tip from Drexiger on the 0-page RAM, putting those user screen bytes in there, and how to enable them. So kudos to him and thank you to him for showing that in his video. User screen bytes are useful in every project, in my opinion, and a lot of other users agree with me on that one, I'm pretty sure. So I'm enabling them in those 14, 15 subtitles as well. If you want to take out the paths, like I was saying, all you got to do is just literally comment. Just go to, I'm just going to show you really quick before the very end of this. You just put a blank file there. So you go to the handle path data, game, subroutines, that blank right there, you would put that right there. And then you would get back that 3% from your paths. But if you made a bunch of these paths groups right here, that might take up some space. Just keep that in mind. If you have any questions or never heard of userScreenBytes before, please refer to my previous videos on them, as well as Drexiger's first NESmaker tutorial. He covers, in my opinion, the best way to enable them that I just mentioned. With that said, I'm going to conclude Part B. So thank you for tuning into Part B. Part C, I promise you, is going to be the most epic of all 3 videos. These 2 are probably boring in comparison to that 3rd video. So thank you and have a great day.